Yeah, I think the more topical discussions have been helping.
Helping? I think so.
Mm-hmm. Like I think there will be interesting one today.
Yeah. Good. All right. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, before someone scores a goal, let's hurry up and get this knocked out. Okay, today's question today. Okay, so have you heard a lot in the news? A lot of people saying some things that people don't, necessarily agree with, and then they get like banned off platforms such as like Donald Trump, maybe Kanye West, or Andrew Tate. Cancel culture has seemingly been taken over. So that is today's topic. What is our thoughts on cancel culture? Are you for it or against it?
Seems a little harsh nowadays, I feel like, but it is what it is.
I'm generally against it.
Yeah.
I think it depends.
On what
Because
they?
if you're talking Kevin Spacey versus like
Mhm.
nonsense that Donald Trump is saying,
Yeah.
like Kevin
Didn't he-
Spacey
Yeah,
said some
That
really-
used to be when I was.
huh?
Isn't he innocent? Kevin Spacey? Didn't he get all that stuff right?
Well,
I think
mysterious
he got acquitted,
things,
but I think there's more accusations again.
and there's always mysterious things that happen with
Yeah.
the
I get
victims
it.
or
I get
whatever.
it.
Yeah. I used to be really for it at the very beginning because I feel like it used to go after like people of power. It seemed like people that were huge, that like had huge control over a lot of people, like Andrew Lauer or
Matt Lauer.
Matt Lauer,
And
yeah.
he should be canceled.
Yeah.
100%.
So like there is times where yes, but I feel like now it's gotten to a point to where like anybody if says anything that's just against your views, they like boom, banned off Twitter, fired from their job. And then I don't agree with that.
See, well, I don't really consider someone like Matt Lauer being. Is that like being canceled?
that's part of.
Didn't he commit like very serious crimes?
Because
Yeah.
if you do
Yeah.
bad things,
Yeah.
some companies like we're not gonna have you as a public figure representing this anymore. I don't think that's considered like cancel. Isn't that more like when you say something, someone takes offense to what you say, where 40% of people think it's fine,
Yeah.
and no, like 10% of people think it's true or like trigger point, and the rest
Yeah.
don't really care because they got better things to do with their day,
Yeah.
and then you get canceled. People don't want to talk. You can't do stuff anymore because like 10% didn't agree with what you said.
Okay, so like take
Yeah.
out the really horrible things that but
Like,
like okay, let's say Megyn Kelly. She said some blackface comments,
Mhm.
and she was released.
Stupid. That is stupid.
Right.
Mhm.
That
She
is
also still got her
stupid.
money though because it was in her contract, but she was like released from her show and all of that.
Yeah.
She's on something different now, but whatever.
Yeah.
What is?
She
I
made
don't
some
know who that is.
blackface comments,
And she didn't really.
offhanded, and
Yeah.
didn't really.
She didn't really know the history of blackface because
Yeah.
everyone is supposed to have known everything that's ever happened to every race
Right,
in the
Yeah.
world
but
for all time. But she made a comment about not really knowing what the history of blackface or that it was that big of a deal because she didn't really know the history of
Yeah.
it, and it was pretty much like next day apologized, next day she was gone.
yeah,
Yeah.
still was.
Which I think is kind of dumb because that's when it irritates me is
Yeah.
when people are expected to know everything that has ever happened to anybody in the world.
Yeah.
And unlike the human thing, it'd be like, you know what, I didn't know that was a thing, and I'm really sorry that I did that, and now I know. Maybe like the human way of learning
Yeah,
is like, no, you should have known in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's what really irritates me. Is like
Yeah.
you should have known already. You should have known everything.
Or I hate when they like dig up like old. Like you said something when you were 18 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't
But
the
now-
sports play.
Sports people,
Like
yeah.
some guy will have like a really good game, no matter what sport or whatever it's in, and then they'll go find tweets from 2011
Yeah.
when he was 12 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
Granted, some of them,
I like
saying some very
And that's
heinous things.
Which is true, but you're 12. Like,
everybody
Yeah.
would be canceled in
Yeah.
the world for what you did when you were 12.
yeah.
right.
If there
like,
was a transcript of everyone's every conversation everyone has ever had, you're going to find something.
right. That you shouldn't have said.
Exactly.
And we all know.
We're human.
We all know the things that
Yeah.
we shouldn't say.
And another
Really-
example is like James Gunn when he originally got fired off of Guardians of the Galaxy because of a tweet that he said like 8 years before. He's a movie director,
Oh.
directed Guardians of the Galaxy, and he got fired off of I think it was it 2 or 3. He ended up getting rehired, but originally though he was fired and canceled over a tweet that he said long time ago, which he apologized for, and but I don't know. I just feel like
It's a slippery slope, of course.
yeah, I'm not really for it anymore. I think people are kind of losing their cool now. It's like, and I feel like the punishment is sometimes worse than the crime. Like, because you don't want people to lose their jobs. You know what I'm saying? You don't want people to get fired or people to
I don't really
ruin their lives. Like, I don't want that on people.
I'm not sure if, like, you look at someone like Dave Chappelle,
Yeah.
who doesn't really care that he keeps trying to be canceled and seems to be doing okay for himself too, which I think is kind of interesting because stuff he says, like, I think it's a strange combination of things. It's one thing if you're like someone tied to NBC who they can, because of their contract, probably pay you, but say like you're no longer a part of this anymore, versus someone like a stand-up comedian like Dave Chappelle, for example, with lots of venues that some might say, no, you're not welcome here, and some would say, yeah, come on in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's
Yeah.
maybe how much leverage you have and how much you actually care. I heard one politician say one time, and I didn't much support his politics, but they were saying, like, what would you say to someone who's offended about blah, 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 like fill in the blank? And he goes, be offended. Just turn around and walk away. Like, that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Be offended. Turn around and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
As far as being banned on the different platforms, you sign up for that. You agree to abide by their guidelines.
Yeah.
You don't. You're
Yeah.
gonna be canceled.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah. Sometimes though, like there are things that are not really necessarily against guidelines. You're hearing people that get canceled because they were singing along with a song and they said something that they shouldn't have. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that's a little bit overboard. And it's not necessarily them getting kicked off of the platform, because it's usually more than that. Usually it's them getting let go from their job or something like that, or them getting bullied themselves over something they said. Like, I don't think it's that crazy, because at the end of the day, maybe they're not as educated on something, or maybe they need to educate themselves on whatever they said. But like, I don't think it's worth them, getting bullied or harassed or losing their job or anything. I don't think it needs to go to that level. And I feel like now that is the go-to method whenever somebody says anything that someone else doesn't like. And then also, deplatforming somebody too is not that great, because a lot of things get taken out of context. So when you kick somebody off, and then now you have the whole rest of the world talking about that person, now that person has no way of sticking up for themselves. They have no way to say no, that's not what I meant.
That's a big part, I think.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that's not what I meant. It was taken out of context, because, people like to take things and spin stuff all the time. And I just think there's more problems with it than there is good.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that's concerned, there's always going to be somewhere that they can say, their piece or whatever, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like when you sign up for social media or whatever.
You go by their guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they violated guidelines.
Right, that's
but
what
that's
I'm
not
saying,
always
yeah.
the case.
Slippery slope, fine line.
They have like a bunch of lawyers that make some
Right.
vaguely ambiguous stuff.
On purpose.
That can go against our community standards. Like, what are those standards?
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, and which are always changing on the fly all the time.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's like, you might have posted a meme that was great last Monday, but that doesn't. They could have changed something, and now that meme gets you in Facebook jail for the next 30 days.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's always changing. It's a hard path to navigate, honestly. But I don't know. I used to be for it at the very beginning, because I liked the idea of taking people that were on power trips and abusing their power over people, that were not as, equipped to, to stick up for themselves, because I feel like that's what it used to be about. Now it's about just simply, just people spreading their agenda. And if anytime a group says something, or anyone says something against a group, it's like, oh, no, ruin their lives.
Okay. So
And that I'm not for.
ruining, are you talking average person? How,
When I'm saying ruin their lives, like, people are losing their jobs.
Yeah, like
people
the
are getting
average
bullied
person?
and getting harassed, not allowed on the internet, not allowed to attend back to their everyday life.
an average person?
Because
Like,
it's
what kind of example are we talking about?
Yeah, I was gonna say average people.
oh no, they're
If you do something and get canceled, like when you lose your job and you're just an average human being, like one of us, you're not famous, there's no spotlight
You're
on you, and
usually
then
just doing
you
something
probably
pretty
did
bad.
something to deserve it. That one after.
yeah. I mean, there's just stories though that I hear all the time about stuff. People literally singing along with rap songs. Rap songs
I know what you're getting at
are
when you
usually
say that.
typically full of words that a lot of people cannot say. But if you get caught saying it or whatever, do you think
Well, that's just a whole nother conversation. I feel like.
you know?
That's where your
there's a
job
lot of
has
things.
access to
Yeah.
your social media
Oh,
accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you say something that's anti-LGBT or something that's anything, or if you just made a joke or you just said whatever. I feel like sometimes the punishment is far worse than the crime. Then
If your punishment is getting kicked off of a social media, like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot worse things that can happen.
Right.
So like your example, you're thinking there's some video of some guy or woman singing along with some rap song and probably dropping N words, right? And they got fired. Is
Yeah.
that the general gist what you're saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just okay. Yes, I'm not saying I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying that's right. But at what point do we have to be like, okay, maybe causing them to lose their job is a little bit too far. Yeah, okay, maybe let's kick them off of Twitter. That's something I can, that's something. Okay, yeah, you violated a guideline or whatever. But to go as far as like contacting their job and like saying, oh,
I
this
wonder-
person did this, you should get rid of them.
I wonder if there's some weird like morality clause in like their employment contracts or
Yeah.
something.
There are some of those, and I would
Yeah.
imagine, as an employer, it probably people or companies that would do that would have to have significant like PR or
Mhm.
liability stuff or what that person says kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like people have heard of the Today Show, even if you don't watch it, you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like it's a household name. Like people in there talking about blackface. Like
Yeah.
so, I think that's like they had a very vested interest in the perception of how they handled it.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of times it's the people making decisions that care about their own skin the most.
Yeah.
And they're like, what can we do right now to try to minimize the crap we have to deal with?
So I
Yeah.
think like teachers a lot of times have those kind of
Mhm.
like morality clauses like in
Yeah.
contracts.
I've heard, I think it was Chris or Ann or somebody saying like they'd be like drinking a glass of wine, like
Yeah.
no, don't tag me, don't tag
Yeah.
me, which I took great offense to. I mean, like my opinion matters, but it was a strange thing. Like here's somebody doing seemingly responsible, legal of age,
yeah, adult.
and
yeah,
this is something that could have a poor job consequence. I never really understood that one.
Mhm.
I mean, like DUI is one thing. I've heard like people get fired for DUIs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I could see that a little bit because at least
That's
you got
not
caught doing something
technically-
illegal.
That's technically is it a felony?
I'm not entirely
I
sure.
don't know. I think it depends on your
I mean,
state.
if you're posting something like if you do something illegal and get caught doing it, I can see
It's-
something. I can see consequences to doing something illegal and getting caught doing that thing.
Mhm.
That doesn't sound that crazy to me.
Yeah, the
But doing
alcohol-
legal things, getting in trouble for doing legal things, sounds kind of strange to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's-
yeah.
And not even like
And-
an offensive
and-
thing.
and
Not
that's
like you're dropping
how-
N-words.
And that's how I feel that it's headed sometimes. I feel like that is where it's going. It's not
The
necessarily.
pendulum swings though.
Yeah.
Like people,
Yeah.
right now,
So-
people are just trigger ready to complain and be offended by something,
Mm-hmm.
and then like 20
Yeah.
years go by, but like remember we used to be.
Were you
used to do
still
that?
offended by this?
Remember it
Yeah.
used to bother us, and now like oh,
Yeah.
fine.
Literally, like if we went how society went back in, say, like when we grew up in the 90s, people said stuff all
No,
the
you
time.
can't say that.
We
We-
would
we'd all be
all
canceled.
we would all be canceled, and we would all lose our jobs,
many
and we would
times
all get bullied,
Do we
and
watch movies now? And you're like, oh.
That was okay then.
You get a little cringy because you're like, you
Mhm.
can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just feel like people just need to chill out, just
Well,
chill
that-
out, and then also whatever happened to like second chances, like you can.
That bugs me the most.
It's okay to screw up and say something like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that," and it's okay to admit that you were wrong. But like, cancel culture is not about giving people a second chance or even having that conversation with them about what they said or anything. It's not about educating. It's just all about, nope, you're a bad person. Let's get rid of you. That's what it's about.
It goes back to that perception that you're supposed to maintain
Mm-hmm.
even outside, or because like you said, like Today's Show, like I follow a couple of them on social media. I think
Mhm.
their personal lives are somewhat interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they got to maintain that wholesome,
Mm-hmm.
good old fashioned American,
Yeah.
So if they did something, it would be. I don't think the Today Show would be taking. I don't know.
Well, and I think one of the things I get it's like we don't have time machines that people can confirm exist. so it's hard to see what the future has. So something you did 10, 20, 30 years ago,
Yeah.
it's hard to know what would not be okay in the future. And it's like you can have consequences for just not knowing everything. And not knowing the future of what would be okay or not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is just a very strange precedent to set.
Yeah. Another example, like Ellen DeGeneres. She has a reputation of not being very nice to the people that work underneath her. She's a very hard, strict boss. How many people go through every day with a very hard, strict boss? I'm not saying, we're actually very lucky here that we have a great boss. But like a lot of jobs I've had not very many great things to say about my former boss. But at the same time, though, like that's her job, though. Like she is the boss. Like it is her show with literally her name in the title. So if anything goes wrong, that reflects on her. So maybe she does want to be a little bit more strict about how things get handled there. Does that make her a bad person that worthy getting canceled?
She would have people come on the show and just make fun of them
Oh
for each segment at a time. So it wasn't just being mean to her coworkers.
Yeah.
It was the people
She
she brought on. She would just
like her guests would specifically say, "I'm not talking about this. Do not bring it up," and she would anyway.
Things that aged horribly.
Yeah.
Like at the time, you don't really notice, and you watch back, go, man, she was really mean.
Like, in the live moment, you might chuckle at it, but then afterwards you're like, oh,
Like she's done it
she's
multiple times.
pretty much-
She likes to poke.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot.
Yeah, that I'm not for or whatever. But like, I mean, to cancel somebody because they were too hard on you at your job, your employee. I mean,
She didn't get canceled right away.
no,
And then she never really technically.
her
canceled.
viewings did
She
drop though, which is
Well, they became redundant too. The
Yeah.
show did.
I mean,
it
I
dropped.
During COVID,
You
too,
get what you give, and like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna be an awful
Mhm.
Josh with the live wisdom.
human being to
It's
somebody,
true.
Mhm.
It's true.
you're gonna lose your TV show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's easy.
It's
I'm not
gonna
a
come
bad
out.
person.
We're not saying you are.
Like,
Mhm.
that's what I feel with all this whole cancel culture stuff. Most of it is, it's like,
Mhm.
if you're being a decent human being, like, you're not gonna get canceled.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I mean,
But-
the people that I see canceling people are like people that aren't already fans of something. Like,
Mhm.
it's going to be somebody that already hates that person or doesn't agree with what they say or do that's going to try to cancel. So I don't really care about cancel culture because if somebody I like, I mean, if they do something bad enough, I'll
Mhm.
stop paying attention to them.
Mhm.
But if they just did something small, stupid, said something,
Mhm.
and then some small minority of people want to cancel and be like, I don't care about that. Like, I don't even hear their voice. I'm still going to listen to this guy.
Mhm.
So like cancel culture is so stupid to me because I don't feel like it accomplishes anything. Because people that were originally fans or supporters are still going to support them anyway.
Unless they
Probably-
did something.
Unless they
horrible.
did something
Like,
bad enough
Yeah.
to what they deserve
Yeah.
to
Then
get
they're gonna
canceled.
deserve
That's
it.
how I feel about the whole
Right.
situation.
Yeah. I'm not saying there's not people that don't deserve it because some do, 100%. But like from things I've read and seen, I feel like that's not always the case anymore. Now it's definitely just a weapon.
Well, if somebody
It's just
said
a
that,
what's that?
if somebody said that about somebody you really like, are you even going to care? Are you going to be like, I don't
Yeah.
really, their voice is meaningless. I don't
Mhm.
even hear them. I'm still going
Yeah.
to support or, listen, watch whatever I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I
So,
can't.
like, that's
speak
how
on,
I think about it. I just don't
Yeah.
even-
I can't speak on like the average person. I don't know anybody who's done that. I don't
Yeah.
know anybody who's been kicked off a platform either. To be honest.
I
Yeah.
guess the question is like, how high profile do you have to be able to be canceled?
Yeah.
Like I've always wondered, when does a murder become an assassination? Like a certain
Yeah.
caliber of
Money
Well,
involved
He
usually
went back
too,
to
right?
school
Be
that
assassinated.
semester. He's got
we
a
gotta
job,
be
everything.
someone in
Importance.
prominence.
Mhm.
Yeah. Money involved sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, okay. That should be a gold mine to be big enough
Like a
to be able to
higher-
be canceled.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope for sure.
Right. I
Just
don't
like
know.
everything else.
Yeah, I'm more about let's have the conversation. Like let's talk about it. And sometimes people will say some controversial stuff, but maybe the conversation is worth having. Sometimes, that's
Conversation's always worth having.
So maybe I feel like maybe it could do. Maybe that could use that to help educate people. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Me, I'm gonna have to, right as of right now, I'm against it for sure.
I I'm going to cancel culture.
I agree.
I think I'm gonna stay on the fence. I don't really.
But yeah.
Mhm.
I think,
think-
sometimes it's warranted.
Yeah, sometimes, yes.
So I'm gonna-
I don't really like the whole idea of cancel culture. I think it's all stupid. If you do something bad, you're gonna pay for it. And if you didn't do anything bad and people are still trying to cancel you, no one's going to care eventually.
Right.
And, so I hate it, but for different reasons.
I think it's
Gotcha.
less and less of a. I think people are getting. I think more people are tired of cancel culture than before because people just care less and less about.
Yeah.
that.
How do you care about something don't even like or even a fan of to begin? Unless they said something like obviously offensive and hateful.
Yeah.
Why do you care what they said or did?
Hmm.
Right, because like celebrities, do they really
It's too much time.
do they really matter in any of our lives?
None of them.
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Right.
Not really, they don't really affect.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have anything more for this conversation. I'm
That was it.
canceling count. So we're all almost in agreement here. But
Oh, I just
yeah, you're on the
I
middle.
just kind of like okay, whatever.
If it's bad,
Yeah,
cancel 'em. If
right.
it's not,
Like,
then
yeah.
they'll do their thing.
All right. Well, there we have it.
That was pretty.
Alright.